You know, it was not an easy year for higher education across the nation, in our state, and certainly not the South. And I'm reminded of that. I shared earlier in the summer with some folks. I come into the South a lot every morning when I see 10 heavy diesel trucks parked out there. That was a good program. It's not here anymore. And it also reminds me there are some faces that aren't here this year that have been here in the past. So we made it through that. The tough part, making those decisions. The good part, we stuck together and didn't do finger pointing, but really worked hard together in a transparent way to try and make the decisions that are best for our students, to serve students as best we can. So I know we'll continue to do that. Now, things will get better, and we will be stronger because we continue to work together to serve our students. We'll continue to, Kurt and Irina just shared with me the budget reports from last year, and every single program, one little teeny one, was within their budget. You know, that's still unheard of in colleges across the state and our country. In South, we've done a great job, and we'll continue to do that. So hats off to all of you for sticking within your budgets. The other thing is we'll continue to be fiscally conservative. We've done a really good job of not spending down all of our rainy day money, but we'll continue to do that. You know, we're talking about 5 to 10% budget cuts again this fall. 5% will suck it up, 10% will be a bigger challenge, but we'll get through that and we'll work collaboratively together. I want to let you know I'm going to use whatever bully pulpit my position has a little bit to advocate that if our budget continues to be cut, we should be asked to serve fewer FTEs. I just think it's really important that we try to preserve as much quality as we can, but our budget has been cut almost 35% in the past 4 years. But we're expected to produce as many FTEs, and also there's a big emphasis on student success. So I'm going to be out there a little bit saying, if you're going to cut our budget, make our target smaller so we can preserve some quality. So I want you to know that first before I say that. And I'm really committed to a comprehensive community college, and I've said that before, and I really am. That we need to have a well-balanced instructional portfolio. And just a little rumor control, we are going forth for some more applied baccalaureate degrees. It's not my intent to not be a comprehensive community college. I think over the years, if we have 4 or 5 applied baccalaureate degrees, that would be great, making sure that our students have a place to go so that they can complete their education. So I just want to make sure, if you hear me talking about baccalaureate degrees, I'm not trying to change this to Bellevue College. Another bright point that we had this year was we had tremendous success with our grants for outside funding. We brought in between $6 and $8 million. We clearly lead the district in this category. And we're going to continue to carefully vet those and see which grants can give us the leverage to better serve our students and do the things that we want to do. But tons of people worked on that. And, Wendy Price, our Director of Grants, has been great. And many of you, May Lukens, Holly, Joe, Elizabeth, Lana, Malcolm, Keith, Kim, a lot of you, Kurt, everybody, and tons of faculty have worked on these grants. And it's really important we do the best we can to involve folks in planning the grants so there's ownership. I know that sometimes there's tight deadlines, but we've done a great job on grants. But if you take a look at some down at the bottom of the slide there, some of the grants are helping us focus on some areas where we really want to focus. On intrusive advising, our pathway to completion. It says FANAPEASY. It's currently ANAPEASY. We're hopeful that we'll get FANAPEASY, which we should hear any day. That's an extension of ANAPEASY in the section F, so we call it FANAPEASY. Our great TRIO programs, our Running Start transfer program that you folks are working in the academic area in our 13th year. Those are all some outside funding things that we're getting that will help us do the things we want to do. So we've got a lot more grants in the hopper. This next week we're hoping to hear from the government on the FANAPEASY and our DOL grants. But we've got 5 and a lot of millions of dollars out there still in grants. So we've done a great job on that. Last summer you probably recalled that President Obama challenged the nation and American higher education to provide 8 million more college graduates by 2020. And listing this as the single most important step that our country can take to ensure the nation succeeds in the 21st century. For their part, community colleges were asked to increase the number of associate degrees and certificates they award by 5 million, making our institutions responsible for over 60% of the graduates needed to reach that goal. So how are we going to do that as a nation? How are we going to do that as a district or state? And how are we going to do that here at South Seattle? And there really is a change in direction going from a philosophy of college access to a philosophy of college success. We talked before about our pyramid. Remember, all the students are coming in here. By the time they complete, there's not as many going through. And we talked about changing the shape of the pyramid from this to that. And, that's what that is. And the research is really consistent on that, that there are some things we should be doing to move to a greater success model. And some of these you've worked with before. I know we've done some things with Tento before, talking about engaged learning in the classroom, and faculty do a great job of that. I'll talk more about that later. There's a new book by Jenkins called Get With the Program, where he did research on community college students. He said the most common thread, if you will, for student success, the sooner students can get in the area that they want to major, the more likely they're going to be successful. Because if they're going to drop out, they're going to drop out the first quarter. CCSE and the Community College Resource Center says we need to simplify our academic pathways and career pathways. It's really confusing for students, probably confusing for us, confusing to our advisors and counselors. So the more streamlined or the clearer it is to students how they can get where they need to go, the more successful they will be to do that. We probably give our students too many choices, and so we may need to have to focus in on that. Also, the research is showing that the community college students nationwide have 3 times as many barriers than those students that are prepared to go to college. And conversely, we need to remind ourselves, a lot of our students are college ready. And when those students get here to our campus, they do as well as students that begin at a 4-year institution when they're college ready. So I think we really need to focus as much as we can on research and see what the best practices are. And in fact, Marsha Brown is going to be having more forums this year, open forums to encourage faculty and all staff to talk about current research and what's going on so we can learn from that and put it to use here at South. So there really is a paradigm shift from access to success. And we need to get our students, as Jill said yesterday at convocation, across the finish line, or also not only in the door, but across the stage, and or to get a job in the area that they want. And this is coming in the form of major policy changes and how we're funded. And the state of Washington has been early leaders in that with our momentum points. Kurt was just at a meeting where the whole state of Kentucky is being funded not on FTEs, but how they perform. So part of our role is to make sure we're positioning the college to make sure we get the resources to do what we're doing. So that success emphasis is really coming down the road. Even if we went back to the way we were funded 4 years ago, we would not operate the same as we have in the past. It is going to be based on student success, so we've really got to work on students completing those degrees, certificates, and I am really pushing for jobs. I think we need to measure student success by getting jobs as well. So we need to do some things differently and scale up the things that we know that are working. And we know a lot of great things that are working here that we've discovered on our own. Many of you have done that. We can take a look. I mentioned the 13th year, but our TRIO programs, the faculty interest groups, you had some great ideas and successes that are working that you've shared with other faculty. So we know some things that are working. Our Title III, those types of things. There's been some great workshops this week on Title III and instruction. So we know some things that are really working. So I think if we take a look at research, combined with the great things that we're doing, we can really continue to be the leaders.